Today's guest is the co-founder and CEO of Buildcheck, a venture-backed startup out of Stanford University. Their flagship product, a spell checker for construction drawings, helps real estate developers, general contractors, and architects screen plans to catch issues before they become change orders, RFIs, or city comments. At Fuller Apartment Homes, we heavily relied on BuildCheck to identify errors in our plans before they became costly issues out in the field. We can't wait to use BuildCheck on our next project in Santa Barbara. Today's guest is Alexander Michalatos.
People process tech, innovate with the best. The Community Builders Podcast.
All right, Alex, how's it going?
Great. How are you?
Good. Thanks for jumping on.
Of course.
Awesome.
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, we were man, we always joked about having AI run a check on all of our plans. And when we found you, it was great timing because we'd spent well, actually we wish we found you a couple of months before because we spent about 4 months using Procore's design coordination tool to track over 700 issues with our plans during the design phase, just trying to coordinate between the architect, civil, mechanical, electrical, and yeah, so we end up running your system a little bit after, but it's pretty awesome what you guys do.
Yeah, music to our ears. Thanks for the kind words. You're not alone. Like everyone we talk to runs into this issue, and it was a problem I experienced personally. Didn't know it was possible to save or solve with technology until I came to Silicon Valley and saw what was happening with AI. I'm just happy we could put it into a product that people actually find useful and are using now day to day. So it's uh it's encouraging to hear that, and even better that you invited me to tell the story here with your audience. So
Yeah,
appreciate it.
what's your background? What were you doing before Build Check?
Yeah. So by means of an introduction, I'm Alex Michalatos, CEO, co-founder of Buildcheck. I started the company 2 years ago with my co-founders out of Stanford Business School. Before that, I was a contractor. So I was born and raised in Vancouver, Canada. For those who don't know, beautiful outdoor city, mountains, beaches, like very close to Whistler. So because it was so sought after, there's a lot of tourism and a lot of real estate. So it's a big real estate town. My dad immigrated there way back in the 70s, classic immigrant story with like $2 in his pocket, never seen snow before. We were from Greece.
Nice.
And he kind of made his way as an entrepreneur in like, as you can imagine, like tavernas, nightclubs, and eventually like hotels and single family home construction. So I kind of grew up in that business, but was always attracted to the bigger stuff. And, I was looking around and saw more cranes in the sky in Vancouver than anywhere else I've been, and kind of got attracted to, hey, what if I can get involved with, the big commercial stuff, the institutional stuff? So I studied mechanical engineering at UBC, University of British Columbia, who's now a client, which is like nice to see how things go full circle. And then from there, I worked as a designer at Stantec doing industrial design. So rail facilities, power plants throughout Canada, a lot of P3 projects, public-private partnerships, where, we would be part of a consortium with the builder and the owner, and took a lot of design risk. And then from there, I worked for a subcontractor, Honeywell, doing building systems, HVAC controls, fire alarm, security, on-site. Of course, coordinated with all the different parties, saw how much coordination it took between the different design systems. And then from there, went to a general contractor, Ellis Don. It's like a big design builder in Canada. And I was doing a few billion in hospital projects. And again, this like contract type, we would take design risk. So on my last project, it was a mental health hospital. We had close to $1 million in change orders from electrical design mistakes. So just like you, I was thinking, hey, I wish there was like a machine to do this, but I had no idea it was even possible until I came to Stanford to do my grad school, my MBA.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it took, like I mentioned, it took us a few months to go through it manually and find over 700 issues. And then we still ran the plans through your software, and we found at least 80 issues that we couldn't find by ourselves. And it was a lot of clerical things, like dimensions weren't clear. There was discrepancies between the different trade disciplines on different drawing sheets. And I think it really just kind of reduced the amount of potential RFIs out in the field. I was looking kind of at a way to quantify it, where this project, it's $100 million project. It's about 68 million in direct cost. We had to take out a $39 million loan, or no, sorry, $60 million loan. About $40 million of investor funds were put into the project. So just carrying the interest on the loan is about $5 million for the whole project.
Yeah.
And we accrue about 3.9 in investor preferred returns. $9 million just to carry the money over the course of construction, which is about $12,000 a day. So if we can save 1, 2, 3 days, we've easily paid for your software. And I just think reducing the amount of potential RFIs, the back and forths, will do that. And that's not even considering change orders, fees that we're going to have to potentially pay consultants to fix things. So yeah, we've definitely found some value in your platform.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we do a lot of work with contractors and developers, and we hear similar things, right? So like, one is like the pure time savings, like to do this with humans would take months. That often like folks don't have time to do. Like, good on you guys to actually like put in the effort, because it is well worth it to find the mistakes. But often if you're like tight against a bid, or you don't have the expertise in house, it just falls through the cracks. Or you do a cursory review and find some big items, but a lot of it slips, right? And this ends up as RFIs or change orders or schedule delays, right? So like we work to quantify that with owners and contractors after projects, and we often see like a 10x for smaller projects to up to even like 30x for big projects, right? Because the bigger your project becomes, the more chance of coordination mistakes, right? Like, every new sheet you add to a package has to be coordinated with the hundreds of sheets before it. So it's almost
Mhm.
exponential in complexity as you get bigger. So yeah, it's just it was a very clear case to us that like, hey, this is work that like humans should not be doing, right? No one went to architecture school to look at door
Mhm.
schedules, as they like to say, or do overlays between mechanical and electrical and things. So we're happy to take that off folks' plates so they can focus on like what they went to school for, design intent and value engineering and how to lease this up and finance and
Mhm.
all these other things that developers and contractors are thinking about.
Yeah, and so you were in the industry, you saw this problem. How did you who was your partner? How did you get this thing off the ground? Do you mind telling us more about that story?
Yeah, for sure. So like, I met both my co-founders at in business school. We're vastly different kind of backgrounds. So I was the construction person. My co-founder, Alex Grieve, he's the CTO. So he was a software engineer and then architect, Ukrainian descent, then emigrated to the States and worked for Deloitte on enterprise applications. So in healthcare, some machine learning as well. And then our third co-founder, Andre Volchinsky, he was a real estate, or first he was an attorney, M&A attorney in Montreal, Ukrainian Canadian. And then he turned into a real estate developer for a family office and did some big mixed use developments in Montreal and in Miami. So like, between the three of us, we had like the compliance side, the software engineering side, the construction, the real estate. And we were like friends before like business partners, right? So like, Andre and I were like, we were just interested in real estate. We're both Canadian. We were kind of trying to make it in Silicon Valley, right? We were part of the same like real estate club and like hung out with the same group of friends.
Mhm.
We did a real estate competition called the Golden Shovel. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's like
Mhm.
yeah, that's where I met
Yeah, Blaine.
your colleague there, Blaine. Yeah, yeah. So we
Yeah.
did that. That was probably our first like work experience together, me and Andre. And I was like, this guy's a hustler. Like,
Mhm.
he definitely knows his stuff. He works hard. He's really sharp. high integrity, maybe the highest integrity I've ever seen in someone I've worked with. And then he was working with Alex G. Alex G was actually in my section cohort at school, but we weren't that close. But because Andre and Alex were both Ukrainian, they led humanitarian efforts after the invasion happened, and
Okay.
they fund rose like something like 6 million in
Wow.
humanitarian supplies for the defense effort. And they were kind of like spitballing ideas on the side. Andre and I came into second year, so it was a 2 year program. We had both like worked in real estate development, him at Related in Miami, myself in Quadrille in Vancouver. We saw like again the inefficiency around design reviews, and we're like, hey, we're in Silicon Valley. We both had jobs lined up to join real estate developers. And we're like, hey, we got a year left. Let's like try this entrepreneurship startup thing. Like we're in the place. Like ChatGPT just came out. Like might as well.
Mhm.
Why not? So we took this class called Startup Garage, which is where a lot of like DoorDash came out of it. Some other like big success stories. And this teaches you like this is how you do customer discovery. This is how you like find a pain that's worth solving. This is how you iterate on a problem and find a solution for it. So I worked with Andre on that. We brought in Alex as a technical expert, and then just started iterating around this problem of design reviews or design issues. And at the same time, we were testing the LLMs, right, and trying to feed a drawing into GPT-3 or GPT-5 now. I don't know if you've ever tried, but it's you don't get much out of it, right? It's
Yeah.
not trained for that. So we thought, if someone can train models to understand these drawings in 2D, wow, that's powerful, right?
Hmm.
Uh, we picked design reviews because that's one like visceral, painful thing for a lot of developers and contractors. No one likes change orders. But if you can crack that technology that we're continuously working on, that unlocks a whole world of opportunity in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. What is your perspective on AI and the construction industry?
I think like I'm definitely like bought into all the AI hype. I think it's transformational, as you could expect from an AI founder. But I think it does apply and kind of have huge positive impacts in all industries, right? And especially in construction, particularly because they're not a very like tech savvy group of folks,
Hmm.
both on like development side and the construction side and even design. But there's this paradigm with AI that's called services as a software. I don't know if you've heard this. Usually SaaS is software as a service, but now
Hmm.
it's almost flipped on its head and service as a software. Whereas you don't need to build like a cloud-based software to like allow users to do something.
Hmm.
AI can now do it for them. And like construction is an industry where developers have no problem, paying for this study and then paying for this consultant to do this work and then the trash management consultant for this, et cetera. Like, so they're more than happy and have budget to do something, but they want someone else to take it off their plate, right? They don't want a software to do that. They don't want to learn that. They have other things to do.
Yeah.
So I think AI is particularly useful in this industry for that reason. So you can essentially offload a lot of tasks that you don't want to do to AI. And that's like what we took advantage of. Instead of building a software that lets folks do design reviews, we just do the design reviews for you, and then you can move on to other things. And of course, we have a platform that allows you to like then coordinate and get them resolved. But we're doing the bulk of the lifting for you so that you can get back to other things.
Yeah, that was a nice piece. There was no implementation. It was just, hey, send us your drawings. We sent them over, and then within, I think it was 2 weeks, they were uploaded to the system. The AI ran their processing, and we had a bunch of issues that we could then coordinate with all of our consultants.
Yeah.
And one thing that was nice too, and just having all of the drawings in one view with Procore's design coordination tool and even the drawings. So there's a lot of jumping back and forth between drawings, but you guys were able to take one single issue and then below that issue have a tab for every single drawing where that issue was present. And it was really easy to just flip through the mechanical, the electrical, the architectural, and just see how it affected all those different sheets. And you did that automatically. And that felt really intuitive and easy to use. So that was definitely a nice feature that we found.
Yeah, that's something we heard like early on, right? Like there's a bit of we have an interesting product, and this is probably across the industry. Our buyer is not necessarily the user. The person who gets most benefit from us is those who are at risk to pay for these change orders and RFIs. It's often the owner or it's the contractor if it's a GMP or like a design build contract. But end of the day, if we find mistakes in the drawings or omissions, it's the design team that has to fix them. So we need to build software for like many folks. And the thing with design teams is they're way overburdened and way overworked. And often when we came across and said, hey, we'll do like a review of your drawings for you, they were, like, oh my God, I don't want to deal with this. You're gonna do one of these like BIM clash reports that's like 1,000 items, half of them don't matter. So we
Hmm.
put a lot of emphasis into like how can we make this like a pleasant experience for the designers too. And a couple of things that allow us to do that is one, like the grouping. So if we find 40 missing wall tags or 10 pumps that have missing power, we would group those into one line item instead of having them separate. And then we cloud each on the drawings, and then we group those sheets together. So you can think of it, our kind of way of thinking about it is like, hey, can this be assigned to a single person? And then that person can deal with it all at once, as opposed to doing all this repetitive work. And you'll see this as a theme as we like come up with new features. And like, we're doing like 2-click overlays. We're doing like with all the metadata we can extract, like auto hyperlinking, auto extraction of like scheduled data onto like your door tags or your floor plans, etc. So it's all in the effort of using AI to actually speed up the monotonous work of like looking for sheets and trying to find the right ones and all this kind of stuff.
Hmm. On that note, what else can you talk about in regards of either recent releases or like future releases of the product?
Yeah. So we continuously improve the accuracy and the breadth of the checks we do, right? So we have a list. We started with like less than 200. We're close to 300 in terms of checks that we do now. These are across your disciplines. And we, work with customers. We see which ones they dismiss. We see which ones they add on themselves. So we get an understanding of like what they want to see. We also talk to
Hmm.
them. From that, we add to the list. And a big part of our development in the near term is just adding to the breadth and improving the accuracy. So we're also looking at like waterproofing checks. We're looking at accessibility checks. It's a big one we hear from our multifamily customers, especially. It's a big liability for folks. So, do you have
Hmm.
your door clearances correct? Do you have corridors, your washroom clearances, all that kind of stuff against ADA to start, and then we'll get more regional. And at the same time, we're trying to use our technology to make the experience better, right? So that's where like the platform features come into play. So overlays, we've done our first release. It's in beta, so I should give it to you guys to like try out. I'd love to get your feedback.
That'd be
And then
great.
we're gonna add that. We can eventually do diff analysis, what's changed between this version and the next version. We hear that a lot from our GC estimating clients. What else can I tell you? And then just like other things around the edges, but really it's improve the number of checks and make the experience for the design reviews better for folks.
And then I guess over the next 5 years, do you have like a vision of like where you see the company going? Or is it just you don't have to say too much, but I guess what, if you in 5 years where you hope to be with Build Check?
Yeah, I think really we want to understand drawings better than anyone else can, right? Better
Hmm.
than any human team could. We're starting with design reviews, but that's just one painful workflow that our customers have to do. But there's plenty other kinds of workflows that they want help with, and this technology can allow them to do, right? So that could be, like I mentioned, code compliance, right? Accessibility is one part of that. But what if you can input the entire California building code and do an analysis to see where there are deficiencies or discrepancies in your drawing set? Value engineering, right? So like there's one thing about finding mistakes in your drawings, but it's another level to say essentially have a objective function to maximize. So like, hey, I want to maintain the same value or square footage, but at a lower cost. And then find options for value engineering to achieve that objective. shop drawing reviews, another painful one, more so for the execution phase as opposed to pre-construction. Change order evaluation. You get a change order request from your subs. How do you evaluate this against their contract and the drawings and what they had at the time to make sure if it's valid or not? So there's all of these like workflows that you can do, but the North Star is the drawings. And this all feeds into like, hey, how well can you understand drawings across
Hmm.
asset types, across designers, across jurisdictions and regions?
Yeah. Is there any concern about other LLM providers, Anthropic, Perplexity, like being able to read drawings and kind of just do what you guys do? I know you have your whole back end for the coordination piece, which I don't see them doing, but yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. And like in this age, starting a startup in the AI world is scary because you're always wondering like, hey, what are the big dogs in like OpenAI gonna do? Are they gonna release some module or feature that's gonna eat your lunch?
Hmm.
Um, we test every new model that comes out and on drawings and don't see an improvement. I'm not inside the wall, so I can't tell you for sure, but what I can gather is, they're becoming multimodal, right? They're reading drawings, but they're trained on the vast data set of which is the corpus of the internet and YouTube videos and all these other things, right? So if you think about computer vision, so not just language, but also this is now the computer vision part of it that we focus on. Most of the internet is comprised of like reality capture, right? It's pictures, it's dogs and cats and exterior buildings and things. So as that data set gets larger, the proportion of drawing sets is very small, right? So it doesn't improve on this niche data set. We've like custom built models to extract all this data from this very niche data set. And then from a business perspective, theoretically, could they do it? Of course they could do it. Like Google has essentially unlimited money and has made like, I don't know if you saw VO3, but can make like production quality commercials and movies. So if they really
Hmm.
wanted to, they could probably do construction drawing review, I'm sure. But they're focused on the horizontal play, right? Doesn't make sense. They'd rather be called through API and have every other player use them and make money that way. So by verticalizing and then building workflows around it, like making these nice features with the platform and inviting others and finding these integrating with the current work tools, other things, they're probably not going to do that either. So I think in that sense we're safe, but you never know. So like we're still evaluating every new model that comes out for sure.
Yeah. I like your approach doing like something, I mean, relatively small in the grand scheme of AI, like just doing that really well and owning that one piece. Where like a big player like Google's not going to come and try to eat your lunch because there's just so much more for them out there to try to get after.
Yeah. And
Uh,
that is the startup approach, right? We're
yeah.
resource constrained. Um,
Hmm.
you pick a pain that's like very visceral for clients and you solve that really well, and then you earn the right to expand from there.
Yeah.
Um, you always hear this talk about, hey, we're going to be the platform for this, the platform for that. It's not that easy, right? Like from your
Yeah.
time at Procore, right? Like they did project management really well, and it became the one-stop shop for all that. And then you can expand to finance, and I'm sure there's 10 other modules that I'm not aware of that, but all the other stuff that they do.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I mean, it's way better to do one, a few things really well than try to reinvent everything. And we kind of do, we're similar with our approach for building apartments. We have our few locations, same style, and it makes sense. It's like, making the same pizza over and over again. We know how to make that pizza. We don't want to try to, reinvent anything else at this point.
Yeah, of course. I'm sure your investors invested in that thesis too, right? So
Exactly.
you do it well. That's your differentiated competitive advantage, I should say.
Yep. Yeah. So, I'm kind of looking at my questions here. I know you mentioned in your notes degrading design quality in the construction industry. Do you mind elaborating on that a little bit? Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, this is like a trend that we've been seeing and one that we continuously uncover with all the clients and new customer meetings that we have. And like back in the day, well before my time, there was this concept of the master builder, right? This is the person who had the vision, bought the land, financed the project, designed the project, did all the mechanical, electrical, structural, civil, permitted it, built it brick by brick, and then lived in it. Over time, this became more and more specialized, like any other industry. And in the design phase, this meant instead of the architect who knew everything about the job and was on site, essentially like directing the work for the contractors, it's the design team is segregated, right? So you have specialties in mechanical, building envelope, you have down to acoustics and all these geotechnical, all types of like specialties now. And what that allows for is like obviously a high degree of expertise in something. So you can, deliver high performance anything in your subdiscipline, but you might lose sight of the big picture. And we find a lot of the errors to be coordination type errors, right? Or omissions. And it's not for lack of like expertise. Everyone knows what they do very well, but often the deadlines are so compressed, and designer fees have been continuously reduced as they're becoming competitive. So they don't have time in their budgets or time in their schedule for developers because, hey, I have to give my full plan set to the owner on Friday, but I got all my sub-consultants' drawings on Thursdays. There's no time to do all this cross coordination. So what
Mhm.
happens is we get a lot of errors to do with like, missing power to pumps, or, I've clashes in the ceiling between my diffusers and my lights, or I have civil and landscape, hardscaping doesn't match. So that's what's happened. And it seems to be pervasive no matter where we talk to. That seems to be the common pattern. And then, like I'll also say, like, it's not like I was never the type of I started as an engineer, so I wasn't the type of like contractor to always blame the designer. And I don't think that's the case, because it happens on the construction side too. Like there's experienced people leaving the industry and not as many coming in. So it's becoming more and more junior. And you used to be able to rely on the construction team to like, hey, I haven't fully detailed out this drawing, but they have the expertise to figure out how to build this. Now everything's become much more litigious, and there's so many change orders that they want everything documented. So your sets for, an average building might be 200 sheets back in the day. Now it's 500 sheets because you need
Mhm.
everything detailed because no one's willing to take the risk to build it as they think it should be done. And the more
Yeah.
drawings you had, like I mentioned, the more chance for error. So it only kind of grows from there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely the source of truth, and it's way easier to fix stuff on paper than out in the field. So
Absolutely.
yeah. And I know you mentioned power to a heat pump. That reminds me of an example. We had a heat pump that was labeled on an electrical drawing and a mechanical drawing, but there was just a discrepancy in the way they were each labeled. And so your platform brought that to our attention. And then when we were looking at it, it wasn't a huge issue. We were able to make the change, and it probably wouldn't have been a big issue out in the field. But we just noticed that the heat pump was like next to kind of this public area by the pool. And it made us think, hey, we should actually move this heat pump around to the other side of the building so it's less visible. And I think something that might be underrated about your platform is just looking at the drawings from a different perspective, where you could look at the same sheet over and over again, and it's kind of like your house, right? You're not going to notice like the scuffed up baseboards living in your own house, but if someone else comes over, they might notice that. When you look at the plans in your system, it just gives you a whole different perspective, and on things that you might have missed when you're just looking at the same sheet over and over again.
Yeah. I think one
Yeah.
one client put it well, the developer in Vancouver, Canada, and he said it like starts the conversation.
Hmm.
Like we auto assign severities on our issues as well. So like that's like one type of check is like the discrepancies and tags and things, and that might be like a low severity, but it starts the conversation. Other ones, we've had the biggest issue that we found was a tower we did, like a 40-story mixed use tower, and the geotechnical drawings showed the raft slab, so the big chunk of concrete at the base of your tower,
Hmm.
being 8 foot deep, and that structural showed 10 foot deep, right? So this is
Hmm.
like very understandable that someone would miss this, right? It's like one tag on two sheets, set of like 650 sheets.
Yep.
But this results in a 6 million pound difference of reinforced concrete. And
Wow.
thankfully, it wasn't the other way around because like the the concrete sub bids off the structural drawings, right? And that was the bigger
Hmm.
amount. So like thankfully you didn't like like miss that estimate.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but I'm not a geotechnical engineer, but I would think, 6 million pounds of concrete on your soil might have an impact. So
Hmm.
that was like a critical item that we were very thankful was caught pre-VP as opposed to, in excavation or pouring foundation or something, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean they're going to use you guys for every project from here on out, probably.
Yeah, I mean that's the
I
thing.
mean,
You
let's
you
see.
find the one oh
Fun.
shit
Yeah,
item that like pays
yeah,
for itself, right? Like that's the value prop.
that's awesome. And who's your ideal customer? Yeah, is it yeah? Who do you find like is buying your platform most often?
Yeah. So I would probably say the split is like 60% owners, so developers, but also like institutional owners like universities and things. And within that, a good proportion of them are vertically integrated, so they also have construction. Again,
Hmm.
the people who take the risk are most incentivized to use us, right? So it's 6% owners, some of them vertically integrated. Say like 25% are contractors, and that's growing. I think they're definitely the ones who process the most sheets and they do the most construction, but they're a
It makes
more
sense because
difficult.
they don't want to get in a tough conversation with the owner, or the developer. They just want things to go smoothly. So
Yeah, I think
they
there's
can
this
run it.
false perception that like the contractor wants change orders, and it's not the case.
No, they want
Uh,
to. Yeah.
they want to move on to this project. They want a good relationship with their owner so they can do more work
Hmm.
with them.
Hmm.
If you use an AI product and you find 2x more items when you're bidding than the other guy, who's the owner going to pick? Probably the
Yeah.
guy who looks like, they got their stuff together and can really dial in and see their drawings. Like that would build trust with folks. So we work with
Hmm.
like pre-con teams and execution teams on that. And then the last like 15%, I would say, is the designers, right? What's interesting is we've had some folks where, we do a project for the owner and then the architect would see the output and think, oh, this would be great if I could use it for my own efficiency in-house because I'm spending all this time doing QA/QC. And it happens to be these like bigger shops that like have this formal cost center and they're trying to
Hmm.
find efficiency and they're trying to save reputation, right? Again, no one likes these things when they come out. So if you can solve them ahead of time, it looks good in front of the owner and you get more return work. In general, like there's this accepted practice that, hey, my drawings are going to have mistakes. Like just the way it is, you can never catch it all. So I guess
Hmm.
like our ultimate goal is like challenging that assertion. It's like, why can't your drawings be perfect up front? There's
Hmm.
no reason that can't be the case now. Technology has gone
Hmm.
to the point where that can happen. The only changes or things to fix will be like when the owner changes their mind. Like we can't build AI
Yeah.
to read minds.
Yeah.
Someone, I'm sure other people are working on that, but not us.
Yeah.
But all this
Elon.
coordination, omission stuff, like that should be caught up front. That's what our goal is.
Awesome. Well, it's really good chat. Anything else you want to share? Or I think we covered a lot of it, but
No, I mean, thanks for having us. I think we're just getting started. Like, we started 2 years ago. We only released a product less than a year ago, given all the R&D, and now we're ready to scale. So like those of your listeners who are interested in what we do in AI plan reviews, reach out to me directly if you like, Alexander at buildcheck.ai. You can go on our website, fill out the form, and someone from our team will reach out to you. Or if you just want to chat AI and construction, I'm all ears. I'm trying to get more involved in the community now. So thanks, Will, for giving me the platform.
of course, thanks for jumping on. And yeah, we're excited to use it for our next job. And yeah, thank you so much for jumping on. We'll talk soon.
Yeah,
All
absolutely. Thanks, Will.
right, see ya.